Hi there, my name's Mark Munsey and I'm going to take you through a wee bit of a journey that I've put myself through recently. For a simple name, I'm just going to call it Weapon X. It's basically me trying to put my old car back on the road. The car is a Honda Accord 2 litre. I bought it several years ago and it failed an MOT in March 2016. It's now October, it's been sitting in the house for a wee while and I haven't had a chance to put it back on the road. The following footage that you're going to see is all me trying to put it back on the road, the different things that I've had to do to get it to that stage and it passing its MOT. The aim for it is, like I said, to get it back on the road, but to treat it as a kind of project car, to do things to it and to try things in that car that I wouldn't necessarily try in a normal, daily car, for example. So yeah, this is just the footage from it. Pardon any of the mistakes. If you've got any comments or you got any feedback or you got any suggestions, just let me know. I hope you enjoy. So this is one of my ideas. I'm going to try and fix my old car. I'm starting this so I can kind of keep track of it all, but we'll just go over it quickly. Unfortunately it doesn't start, which probably means either the battery's starting to become faulty or the alternator's going. Judging by this, if I clean up the terminals, we might be in better nick. There's the odd spot of rust here and there underneath. One of the issues that it failed its MOT on was in fact rust, so I'll need to investigate all that. But a quick sweep round, the paintwork isn't too bad. It's quite dirty because it's been sitting in a shed. Seats collapsed, so that'll have to come out. Evidence of a little bit of damp, etc. Again, the back's not too bad. There'll be a little bit of evidence of damp in the back there, I think. Going round. Rear's not too bad. Brakes are certainly an issue, as you can see. Come on. As you'll be able to see, the brakes aren't clearing enough, or aren't gripping hard enough, so they'll need to be freed off. But to be fair, the car's served me well, so I'm going to give it a shot. My aim is to have it on the road by February, so I'll just record. I'll keep tabs of the car as I go and try and just document what I do to make it roadworthy. So the two easiest flaws that I'm going to try and deal with today are the issue of the battery or the alternator. I'm not entirely sure what that is, and the brakes. I can give them a quick overhaul and have a look at exactly what condition. Now I'll leave this kind of running maybe as a wee bit of a time lapse just to show, but all I'm going to simply do is try and provide a charge to the battery, see if it holds it, and if not, then we can identify it's the battery that's fault. Similarly, if it does hold it, then it suggests that the alternator isn't working, and it's either because the belt is too loose or that there's another issue with the alternator itself and it needs replaced. But I'm just going to leave this going and show you a bit of a time lapse for it.
We up in China eating egg rolls. I got my hat nipping in my shirt. Escapones on my ass, watch your bitch flirt. Watch your boys try to get them, watch me squirt.
I sit more so on the wheels, because it's not been cracked off in over 6 months. So a little bit of patience, they'll just pop straight off. All I'm going to do now is attach a battery charger and see how it goes. Obviously this is my own place, well, my family's place. It's not an actual workshop, but I do recommend if you're going to jump about and all that to be careful, especially if you're playing with electrics. Now, according to the meter, it is taking a charge. What I'll try to do is I'll try to leave it on charge for as long as I can and see whether it starts up with the key, and that will let me know if it's the battery or the alternator that's causing the issue. But as for the rest, I'll show you as I'm going what I'm doing with the wheels, etc. So I've done a test run on the right hand driver's side just to see what kind of nick it was and how long it would take, and just to basically save the battery on the camera. I didn't record it all because I wasn't sure quite what would happen, but it's worked, it's went okay. So I'm going to try and film this side, the passenger side. So all I'm doing here is just checking what condition the brakes are in, see if the calipers are free, and then to check the handbrake cables. Now the handbrake cables are attached to the caliper at the rear. For this you don't need a huge amount of tools, and to be honest with you, you don't need a huge amount of expertise to do it. You only need enough common sense to be able to not round things, to have a bit of patience and to work it out. If you make mistakes, which I've done in the past, you risk damaging things, and then the pitfall from that is the job becomes a lot bigger than it should be. Now, the tools, you don't need a lot here either. I would definitely recommend a pair of some sturdy gloves. One of the pitfalls of working on cars is obviously because they're in contact with the road all the time, how dirty they get. I would definitely advise it, and if not, get some really good hand cleaner, because I still need to thoroughly clean my hands at the end. A breaker bar with, in this case, a 19mm socket, 1/2 inch. It's a good length. 9 out of 10 times it's going to be able to break whatever nuts. A hammer, honestly I'll explain that at the end, I'm not just some violent thug. Socket set, I use a 3/8. It's easy, it's compact, I can get enough torque on any bolt. I would definitely advise a pry bar, some spanners, and then this little tool here, which is for winding calipers back. I'll show you how that works, it's very simple. And of course, copper grease, because that helps keep things nice and lubricated and free, and the copper grease is actually resistant to the heat. This one says it's a high temperature lubricant, and it's okay until, let's see if this focuses, and this is high temperature lubricant, and it's fine until 1100 degrees C. Now, I'll try and basically find somewhere where this can record from so you can see it. So of course, one of the first things you're going to have to do is just to get the wheel off. Remember to crack it before you jack up or lift it. In my case, if you don't, it's really quite difficult. And if you're lucky, the bolts will be free. And what you can do if the bolts are free, you just put on the bar. Oh, this one's too free to show you. Just tighten this one up, and if it's free and it's, you know, if it's not quite so tight and you think you can get away with it, one easy way is just to turn it against the way you want it and then pull at the last minute. By giving it some torque the wrong way, like by spinning the wheel, you can get enough force in it to be able to pull it. If you try and just pull it as is, all that will happen is the wheel will spin and you'll never get it off. So as you can see, there's a bit of pitting, or just like a bit of a build-up on the disc itself. It's nothing I'm going to be hugely worried about. It usually cleans off after a good drive. There doesn't appear to be too much damage, to be honest with you. The one thing that I will highlight is that one of the bushes has slipped off, and that might need the inner CV joint replaced. Don't know if you can quite see that, but it's quite exposed, there's not enough grease, and it's definitely something that will have to be rectified. Going forward, as you can see from the alloy, it's a bit dirty, but you know, nothing colossal. There's a bit of marking in there, but yeah, not hugely concerning. Again, same kind of case. There's a bit of marks where obviously it's started to rust over. Again, same principle applies. Don't know if you can see that, but that little bit there, oops, that bit there, that's the handbrake cable. And oh wait, 2 seconds. Yep. Now there's a bolt just behind here that, when you attach to, is what secures the whole thing in place. So I think I've ran into my first problem. I tried to move the handbrake cable, and unfortunately it looks as if that's been rounded at some point previous. So there is a bit of rust, but judging, I have to take a wild guess. Oh, where are we? Why can't you see this the same as I do? Yeah, see the gap there? It's just a slight gap. Yeah, that's right there. And that is the gap, or that is a stop. That's to prevent the handbrake cable like pulling too hard. And unfortunately it looks as if it's just seized kind of in that position, judging by how close it is. I'm not too sure how I'm going to free it, but just now I'm going to work on taking the caliper off. There's 2 different size bolts on it. I think it's either a different one came, I think a different bolt came, and one's an older bolt, one's a newer bolt. So I'm just going to take it off, take the caliper off, but see how. So one of the things was obviously the wheels were bogging. There's this thing called devil wheels. It turns the wheels red with the colour on it. Yeah, that works quite well. I'll show you what happens when you scrub them and how they come up. So yeah, they come up pretty good, to be honest with you. The surface finish is a lot better. If you have a look, there's a couple of little bits that need a second going over. The inside of the alloys as well seem to have a lot of, I don't know if it's dirt or it's just starting to flick off the coating of the paint. Yeah, that's how they come up. Wonderful, wonderful stuff. Can't complain. So yeah, unfortunately that was kind of difficult to get off. I definitely think it seems to have seized. It doesn't seem to have freed off at all, which has made it quite a bit more difficult than it should be. Oh Jesus, they're seized solid. Can't remember what the proper name for these pins are, but the whole point is they should be free, and they should basically, when the brakes are pressed and they clamp, these should clamp with them, and then because there should be like an air bubble essentially there that's getting compressed, once the pressure is released off the brakes, it will fire and it will free itself off. Both of these are just solid. The caliper itself doesn't look too bad. If I remember right, I think this is one I replaced. I replaced a seal on the caliper, and it looks to be holding up not too bad. But we'll see. We'll see exactly what the case is there. The pads, if I ever find them, came off. There's still quite a fair amount of material on it. You can just about make out elements of copper grease that's still left on it. Yeah, a little tidy up will do this no harm. So as I mentioned a little bit earlier, you can see these just aren't for moving, aren't for pulling out. And the simplest thing you can do is get a spanner and just try and work just a little bit back and forth, and eventually it will free itself off. If you try to put too much force in it at the start, you will snap it clean off. I've done this before, and you have to get a new pin. It's quite a long, arduous process. You might even have to drill out the old one based on that. But just keep working it back and forth until you can get kind of full revolutions. Now when it's completely free. Like I was saying, you just work it back and forth, and then when you start getting full revolution without too much difficulty, what will happen is you should be able to just pull it out. At least that's what should happen in theory. I've done it to this one earlier, just so you know what I mean. I'll pull like that. Watch you don't break the seal. You can pull it out and you can just grease it up. I'll do that to this one now, if I can ever get it off. And yeah, that should be that. So I was kind of wondering why it was proving to be so difficult. Got it out eventually, but as you can see, the seal's actually broken, and you can see the rest of it. It's just sitting there. Yeah, so it's just sitting on it. And as you can see, there's no grease on it. It looks as if it's evaporated. The most likely cause is probably with the handbrake seizing on. It'll heat it up ever so slightly more, and with the fact that it's actually open and exposed and not got enough grease on it, it'll allow dirt in it, it'll allow it to be washed out in the rain, and it'll just begin to seize as a result of weather conditions. A seal for it's not very expensive. I don't have one on me just now, but I will replace it in the future just to prevent this from happening again. It'll help kick out the handbrake, it'll help kick out the back brake, it'll help free it off, and yeah, should make your life a whole lot easier. So now all I'm going to do is clean this up, a wire brush, a spindle brush, that kind of thing. If you use one of those, add plenty of grease. I would recommend copper grease again, and just a wee touch of normal grease, or thick copper grease if you can, as opposed to a spray. And yeah, that should work wonderful. Once you get it all back in and back together, what should happen is you can press it like that and it will kick out. Just to show you again. And that will help stop your brake seizing. Or so I'm told. So just to go over this kind of quickly and show you just kind of what time you're talking. It's probably advisable to turn this so it's facing one way or another. If it's not got an access issue, it's kind of a waste of time.
As I said, Marcus Alley, Jamie Thomas James on route to London after a hellish week at work. We said we'd love a banger to get to the week before that.
So just freeing off the two caliper bolts, both the upper and the lower. The first one's come off pretty easily. Usually the front Honda seem to have really good calipers. Just a wee tip, if you ever find something is a wee bit tight, rather than try and force it and risk around the bolt, one of the things you can do is just hold it and tap it lightly with the palm of your hand, and it'll tend to cause enough vibration force that it'll let you break it. This is what the pry bar is for, so just find a bit against the caliper housing and pull it. It's kind of easy really. This one's coming off without any brake free. Doesn't feel as if it's seizing, doesn't feel as if the brake's still. Yeah, the brake's perfectly fine. A little bit of the vacuum plate in the middle of it, but other than that it's fine. Pads both come off in my hand, so that's it, a bonus. Just to show you. So just to look at the brake pads, try and get some light. As you can see, there's a bit of material left before it hits the warning. It's not huge, it's not in great condition, but as it's not on the road yet, it's enough to get away with. The edges aren't overly clear, so I'm just going to grind them free. It's a really simple process. Just grind it up, grind it free, and then take any dust away, just as it is. And just as I was saying, you get a nice shiny edge, nice clean edge. And all you do now is you clear the dust away there, and then you apply some copper grease just to keep it free. And just as I was saying, it's cleaned up, it's a wee bit nicer. Not a huge amount of meat left on the pad, but it's enough for just now. And just as I was saying, all you do now is you find the grooves, make sure that they're not too dirty. Give it a nice blow, blow. You just slot it in the holes, and if all goes well, it'll sit in just like that, nice and free. Sitting like that, just nice and free, and that'll just help it move and not stick to the disc. Like I was saying, you've obviously got to wind back the calipers. Now, one of the issues that you do have with these is because they're so wide and it's just a circle in the middle, there's no pattern, you can't actually use, say, like a conventional bit that comes with it. So what you've got to do is, I'm using steel, you should really use wood if possible, but because the caliper's so free, I can get away with it here without damaging anything. It's a very simple tool. All you do is wind it, and the caliper compresses back into its housing. Now, if you're going to do this, then you either need to open the nipple and bleed the brakes, or you can open the caliper, or the brake fluid housing, and that'll let you, that'll let the air escape out of the system. But yeah, as you can see, it just travels back nicely, and all you want to do is you bring it back till it's kind of flush, or if you're feeling particularly lazy, just enough to get it over the pads. But yeah, it's moving back nice and free. It's good to see the calipers in good condition. So as I mentioned, obviously this whole system is in quite good condition, and just to show you what I was talking about earlier with the pins and why they should be free, this is all exaggerated. Oh, maybe the video might not do it justice, but as you can see, it compresses as it breaks, it clamps, then when it releases, it forces out. So it's more visible there, and you can just see just how much it moves, and that's just my hand touching it. So that's the brakes been checked. One or two issues. The left rear handbrake, or the passenger side handbrake's probably going to need replaced. Sorry, the handbrake cable is probably going to need replaced. All the calipers seem to move fairly freely, so that's good news. I've not had a chance to check what the levels are like, but they'll probably need bled. I think I'll leave that until I replace the handbrake. All there is to do now is to tighten the wheels. Please make sure to do that. And then check the fluid level and see whether it starts and turn all the way, and if it doesn't, we've got an alternator issue, or a starter motor issue. Right. So it seems to be a wee bit of leakage in one of the, or in the brake fluid system, so I'm just going to top that up. Obviously, it goes without saying, after you start it up, because all the calipers have been compressed, you need to just give it a couple of pumps, make sure it's set right, and then just top up the levels as you need to. Here's a big one. turns on. It's at this point I really need to give out a health and safety warning. If you're going to do this, unplug it at the wall first before you undo the battery terminals or the connections to the terminals. Just save yourself a little bit of grief and try not to blow yourself up like I'm very lucky I didn't do. Just disconnect it. Next moment of truth, does it turn over by itself? It jump started. So as it turns out, it's merely the battery's been flat because it's not been driven around. Everything seems to be good. I'll need to keep an eye on it over the next couple of weeks, but as you can obviously tell, I'm incredibly pleased with the results. I need to monitor the handbrake, but it's the first step to put it back on the road. And I've got a few plans for it when I put it back on the road. Just a little bit of ambitions, but we'll soon see where we go. See you later. So I thought I was being clever using my own car to listen to the radio. As soon as I'm done with that thing, what happens? Dead. Oh well, not to worry. Munsey plants on site to jumpstart it.